Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show for Tuesday, January 26th. Ian Cameron and Conor Mack with you, ready to break down the college basketball slate once again as we do each and every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, plus Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific. We do the college show as well. Guess what? It's February next week, which means we'll be 1 month away from conference tournaments, March Madness, an unbelievable year in terms of excitement, in terms of betting opportunities. I honestly think conference tournaments is one of the best parts of the year to bet. There's so many good spots that develop with conference tournaments going in. And of course, NCAA tournaments, some of my best work betting college basketball has been with the NCAA tournaments. So we get into February, we're a month away from that. So looking forward, the countdown is on, and the game has become more and more important for a lot of these teams on the bubble as well. So let's get to it. We're going to start with a Missouri Valley Conference matchup here, top of the card. Southern Illinois Salukis, Indiana State Sycamores. We've got Indiana State 5.5 point home favorites, 134.5 the total. I cashed a ticket with Southern Illinois yesterday in the first game between these two teams, and that line to me made no sense, even with Southern Illinois coming off a hiatus and a COVID-19 break. And obviously we know teams can sometimes struggle in that spot, but to me, there was no way, even on their home floor, that you could tell me Indiana State's 7 points better than this team. Southern Illinois is a top 3 or 4 at least team in this conference. And, considering that was their first game in weeks, I thought they made a great account of themselves yesterday, the Salukis. They were also without one of their better players in that game who didn't suit up due to injury, and they still we're right there with Indiana State, a chance to win. They fall just short, 66-63, lose by 3, but cover the number. I'm rolling right back with the Salukis here again today, getting 5.5 points in this game. Obviously, the frustration of losing yesterday, you'd expect them to really bring another pretty good effort, and they might have that player of theirs back in the lineup today for this Salukis team. Indiana State's a good team, don't get me wrong, but Southern Illinois to me was mispriced a little bit yesterday. I think that they will also cover this number today, just like they did in the first meeting last night. The total's been bet down to 134.5, and I'm now going to bet it over at 134.5. I think it's moved too much. I think you can expect Indiana State to shoot the ball better than they did last night, and I would think the Salukis will be a little bit better offensively as well, with the chance maybe to be at full strength for this game. So I like the Salukis getting the points and a smaller bet for me over the total as well. Conor, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm similar with you. I think the Salukis cover this one, maybe outright win it here. I like Indiana State. I don't think they should be a favorite as they were yesterday, 6 or 5.5. Southern Illinois, God, they had a bad string there before that break. They went on those losses to Evansville, Drake. It kind of lost me there. I took a few of them there, but maybe the break was good for them. Sometimes these breaks are good for teams. They help, COVID, injuries. They looked better last night, and I got a small play on Southern Illinois as well. And on the total, no real – I think the total's right where it should be. So nothing on the over-under on that one.
All right, next up, Central Michigan, Buffalo. We've got the Buffalo Bulls -13 home favorites here in this one. The total 165, pretty much across the board. It's definitely been a rocky road lately for the Buffalo Bulls. They've been up and down. They've lost 2 of their last 3, albeit to Kent and Bowling Green. They're 2 pretty solid MAC teams. They bounced back strong, destroyed Eastern Michigan in their last game. They've been an over machine. They're 9-1 to the over in their last 10 games. Look at some of these scores. You're looking at 169, 165, huge scoring numbers in some of these games lately. Question is, can we get all the way to 166 in this game? Because it's 165 the total right now, and I certainly would not want under. I'm going to bet the over for a little bit. But it is high, 165. You look at Central Michigan, they're going to run and gun and go up and down the court. Just like Buffalo, you're going to get extreme tempo on both sides. You look at who they've played with tempo, 161 against Toledo. They end up having a 179 total points a game, Central Michigan against Kent State. So the teams that have been playing fast, they've gone with them, and they've had some real high-scoring games here. And Buffalo is one of those teams where, and they're playing a Central Michigan team that's not good defensively, but they can shoot the ball. They have some athletes. They have a perimeter game. I think they'll score. Central Michigan's going to have a tough time stopping Buffalo. Buffalo could get to 90s, I think, especially on their home floor in this game. The question is, can you get at least mid-70s out of Central Michigan and you would get the over? I think there's a chance we could. It's not a bargain by any stretch, so I'm keeping the bet small, but I am on over 165. C-Mac, what's your thoughts here with the Chippewas and the Bulls?
Yeah, I didn't get to the window here, but Buffalo, man, they're up and down. I could see a similar game as that last one with Eastern Michigan, 92-77. I mean, Buffalo's got 4 or 5 guys that score double figures. So, yeah, I'd lean over. I haven't bet this one. This is one I was really thinking about. That total's getting up there, but, they've been getting up and over these totals. But when you start to hit 165, 167, both teams got a tango here. And Central scores a lot too. They give up a ton of points. It's just not my favorite spot, but I lean over, and on the side, I have nothing. I wouldn't want to lay 13 with Buffalo and feel great about it. They're the better team. They're superior. They should win here, but I don't want to lay, especially 13. I'd feel comfortable laying 8 or 9, but not 13. So I had to pass on the side.
All right, next up, Western Michigan against Ohio. We've got the Ohio Bobcats, 14-point home favorites in this game. The total in the low 140s. I can't bet Western Michigan. They're that bad. They've been absolutely atrocious as of late, this Western Michigan team. They're just 2-9 on the season straight up, 3-7 against the spread. They're on a 5-game straight up and ATS losing streak, 0-5 both straight up and against the number their last 5 games. Ball State, they lose by 8, lose by 11 to Toledo, lose by 26 at Kent State, lose by 16 to Buffalo, lose by 11 in their last game against Akron. The question is, Ohio laying 14. Do I want to pull the trigger laying double digits with the Ohio Bobcats? I'm not sure about that. They only beat Northern Illinois, another pretty weak team in this conference, in this double-digit favorite range. Put it this way, Ohio's been double-digit favorites in conference play once, and that was Northern Illinois at home. They were laying 14.5. They won by 3. All right, so that's not a trustworthy double-digit favorite. It's a clear pass. I can't trust either side in this point spread roll. On either side, I can't trust Ohio laying doubles, and I can't trust Western Michigan getting any points right now with just how hideous they've played their last 5 games. C-Mac, what do you think? Western Michigan, Ohio?
Yeah, it's just a ton of points with Ohio. They got their best player back. I think they should get there and cover this. But another one, just like we talked about with Buffalo, you want to lay 13, 14 here. It's kind of a tax to do it. I look towards the total. I think this one goes over. I think Ohio scores a ton on them as well. I think it's a little bit of a discount, at 141. I think they can get over that between these two. Western Michigan has just been, like you said, they're really bad. And on the road, they're not good against the spread. That's why this number is so high. So I couldn't play it, but I lean towards this over in this one.
All right, next up, we go to Richmond and St. Joe's. We've got Richmond, 12-point home road favorites, I should say, in this game in Philly, 152.5 the total. And teams that are better than St. Joe's and are especially motivated to play a good game against them, that's usually when St. Joe's just gets their butts handed to them. And I sense they're potentially going to get whipped in this game. Richmond's coming off a loss to LaSalle, and I know they're not going to be very happy with that performance. We know Chris Mooney's team is a lot better of a basketball team than that, what they showed against LaSalle. They've been, one thing about Richmond this year, they've lost a few games here and there, but one thing they've done is they've responded each time they lost. The next game, they're much better. They win and cover. That's been their pattern, win and cover off a loss this year. I think they're perfect straight up in ATS off a loss this year. They could name their score against St. Joe's. Without Ryan Daly, their offense suffers. They can't stop anybody on defense, and you're going to get a lot of possessions because of the way St. Joe's plays. They go up and down. Although they've gone under the last couple games, and Billy Lang has slowed the pace down a little bit. He realizes that the offense is not quite the same without their best player. We're not scoring as much. We just can't go up and down if we're not paying it off enough with offense, because that's just going to give more opportunities for the other team to carve up our pathetic defense. I think that's kind of his thinking right here. St. Joe's, they have slowed their possession numbers and their pace down slightly. They're still above average, but not the frenetic pace they were earlier in the season. So that's probably why the totals also come down, from 156 to 152.5. Plus, you would think Richmond, after just a shoddy defensive effort against LaSalle, they'd want to play a lot better at that end of the floor. This is one, I don't lay double digits on the road very often, but I laid it with Richmond here. I think the Spiders in a very good spot to bounce back, and certainly a team they're capable of dominating. C-Mac, what do you think? Richmond, St. Joe's.
I'm with you. This is one of my last ones, but I got to look to the Spiders. I think they're a good team, and like you said, they're way better than that LaSalle loss. That was bad. And they've been good bouncing back. And with St. Joe's, with Daly out, he's their guy. They're trying to put it together. The only thing is 12 on the road. That's just getting there with me. But I had a small one here with Richmond. I think they can win here and cover the total. I just don't love it. I think they bounce back and win strong. St. Joe's is like just depleted. Without Daly, that thumb injury, I know he's out of the cast, but it's going to take him another week or two to get going, to even get feeling back in that thumb and start playing. So, yeah, definitely a small play on Richmond, -12.
All right, Mississippi State, Tennessee. We've got the Vols 9.5 point home favorites here. The total 126.5 in this one. And things aren't right in Volunteer land. Rocky Top is getting rocked all of a sudden here in this college basketball season. And I'll be honest, this doesn't shock me. You know, you could put any team in front of Rick Barnes that you say, oh, this might be the best team he's ever had. And they're either going to underachieve and have a disappointing season, or they'll at least have some point during the season where they go through a tailspin and they go through a little bit of a swoon and a skid. Well, you're seeing that right now from this Tennessee team. Back-to-back losses, how they lost by 26 at Florida with that shorthanded Gators team that was without their three top players really that day, mind-boggling. And then, you know, in a spot where you just lost by 26 at home against Florida, or at Florida, I should say, you come back home and face Missouri, albeit a pretty good Missouri team. You're supposed to really compete hard and really respond. And Missouri was leading that game essentially start to finish. You know, when did Tennessee ever have the lead in that basketball game? I can't remember. Of course, good news for me. Missouri was the best bet for me on this show on Saturday, +9. They went outright. Missouri 73-64. Tennessee's been a point spread burner. You know, in SEC play, they're 2-4 against the spread their last 6 games. You look at them at home, in particular on their home floor, that's now 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 home games. You know, they lose outright as chalk to Bama. They barely beat Arkansas 79-74 at home as 9-point favorites. The only point spread cover recently at home for this Tennessee team was beating lowly Vanderbilt 81-61. That's it. You know, it's been a team that's struggled to win, and especially struggled to win by margin on this home floor. Can we get behind Mississippi State is the question. Maybe we can, because you look at on the road, they beat Georgia's Dogs 83-73. They beat Vanderbilt 84-81, although barely won that one. Not impressive. But how about last time out at Alabama, 81-73? Nobody's playing better basketball in the SEC right now than Bama. And Mississippi State slipped inside the number, were competitive. You know, they kept that game really close throughout, 81-73, a solid effort from this team. I think they can keep this one pretty close too, because things just aren't right with Tennessee. I don't know if I love it as much as I love Missouri against them on Saturday, but I like them enough to bet them again, and I'll keep daring Tennessee to wake up, get out of this funk, get out of this malaise, and until they do, I'm comfortable. I feel good about betting against them one more time. So for me, Mississippi State's the side, getting +9.5 in this game. C-Mac, what's your thoughts here, Bulldogs and Volunteers?
I totally agree. Tennessee's just hit one of these skids. While I don't think they're as bad as they are, and I don't think they were as good as they were early on, I think they're still a solid team. Mississippi State's been pretty good all year. Other than that bad, they laid an egg against Ole Miss, which I had them. I think you did too. I can't remember. That was the only bad loss. You know, they beat Florida. They pushed against Alabama because I had Bama. We'll talk about them later. -9, on the week on Saturday. But a few good wins, like you said, Georgia, Vanderbilt. They beat Missouri at home. They lost by Kentucky by 5. I think it's just too many here. I'm with you. I'll gobble these points up and take Mississippi State +9.
All right, we got SMU Memphis. Memphis 2.5 point home favorites, 142.5 the total. So I said after the Wichita game, where I was on Wichita, we both were, And we said, wow, Memphis, look at them blowing out Wichita. And I said, you know what? This team's kind of underachieved, underperformed, but we know talent is there. Maybe that's a real buy sign that they're about to kick it into another gear. And they followed it up with another impressive demolition over East Carolina on Sunday on the road. Memphis just destroying East Carolina. I laid the points with Memphis in that game. So I heeded my own advice. I said there's probably going to be a team maybe to bet on for a little bit. They're starting to find it. They're starting to get it going. I'm going to stop short of betting them here, though, because now this is a step up, from Wichita, from certainly from East Carolina, playing this SMU team, which is now they've got all their parts back as well. And offensively, they've been very good, SMU, and that's going to be a tall order for Memphis. But I'm certainly not in a rush to bet against Memphis. I will tell you that. But I think the odds makers are already starting to adjust to Memphis's little hot streak here, because my number only had Pick'em here. And you've got Memphis -2.5 in this game. They're actually laying, almost a full bucket here in this game. So, yeah, while I'm not going to go against Memphis with the way they're going, I'm not really in a rush to lay the points against a pretty good SMU team. I am interested in the over a little bit here because SMU's been going over the total. It's low 140s. Memphis has picked it up offensively. For the longest time, they couldn't drain a shot. But Wichita State, they got their offense on track. They put up 80s. Against East Carolina on Sunday. They're starting to shoot the ball better now, and I think you're going to get Memphis, now that their offense is coming back. I could see Penny saying, you know what, we slowed it down a little bit. We're going to crank up the pace again, because that's ultimately the way he wants to play. So, and if SMU doesn't play ultra fast, a little bit faster tempo-wise than last year, but they're so efficient on offense, they make up for it. So that's the way I'm going to go, with a bet over 142 in this game, SMU and Memphis. A good one, though, in the AAC. C-Mac, where you stand here with SMU Memphis?
Yeah, this is kind of a tricky game here. I like what Memphis is doing. I heard Penny they're doing a whole new offense the last few games, what they were doing, like you talked about, how stale they were in these low games in the high 50s, that they're really trying to pick it up, and it shows. They've looked great. But I don't want to lay 2.5 with Memphis here. I want to see a little bit more, like you said. And I don't love SMU. I wish it was 3 or 4. I'd be on them a little bit more here. So I'm off this game. I think the total, it's gone a little bit too high. I think it still might get over that 142, but it's going up, up, up. I don't know. This one could maybe fall short. So it was a pass on both sides. I want to watch this one, kind of get a feel, see how Memphis really looks tonight.
Yeah, you're right. They're of course, SMU. They have had issues with the coach, Tim Jankovic. He's had health issues. Yeah, exactly. He's been away from the team. He tested positive for COVID-19. That's, obviously that's frustrating when you're about to get ready for a big game like this against Memphis, but it's definitely something that they're going to have to adjust to moving forward. I don't make a huge deal about the coach not being there. I wasn't going to be on SMU anyway tonight in this game. So, but if I were to be on SMU, and I heard this news that Jankovic, of course, test positive, won't be there, then might scale back the bet a little bit, but it wouldn't take me off the game entirely if I like the SMU side, just with the news of Jankovic. Remember, this is still, coaches can only do so much. Coaches can prepare. Coaches can, get everybody, run practice, and then the assistants can do that. It's the players that have to play, at the end of the day. So it wouldn't be an opinion where, coach is out because of COVID, now I'm going to not back that team. That's usually not going to be the case when a situation like that occurs, for me at least. Toledo and Miami, we back to the MAC we go. Toledo 4.5-point road favorites, 146 the total in this game. We've loved, backers have certainly enjoyed this Toledo team quite a bit this year. One of the better point spread teams, 13-4 against the spread. However, they have dropped 2 of their last 3 against the number. They won the last game against Kent State 76-74, but they were 3.5-point home favorites, so they did not get the cover there in that game. I would be worried about going against Miami, Ohio right now. This Redhawks team the Redhawks are red hot right now. ATS, 3 in a row, 5-1 against the spread. Since that loss to Ohio, 78-61, they beat Ball State by 10. They destroy Bowling Green, who are a pretty good team, 96-77, and they beat Eastern Michigan 85-63. Look at the offensive surge for this team. They've gone quicker pace-wise. They said we got to speed it up. They have. They've got and it's worked to their offense. The 81, 96, 85 in these last 3 games, all wins, all covers, all of them going over the total as well. That's really where I'm going in this game, is over 146 here with Toledo and Miami. Miami is a good offensive, or Toledo rather is a good offensive team. Look at their numbers: 84, 95, 96, 94, 89, 76 points. They haven't gone below 70 points in a game since way back in late November. I mean, this has been just a really good shooting team that the Rockets have. Miami's played a little quicker. They're feeling it offensively right now. And from a side perspective, this team's 6-1 straight up at home. Miami 4-2 against the number. I'd actually lean to the home dog here. And it's almost sacrilege saying bet against Toledo because of the point spread success they've been all year. But Miami's surging right now, and we have seen the number catch up to Toledo. Again, they've dropped their last 2 of their last 3 games against the spread. So the numbers have caught up a little to this Toledo team. So for me, I would lean slightly to Miami but I'm going to just stick with the one bet, which is over 146 here with the Rockets and the Red Hawks. Connor, what do you think about this one?
I'm with you here on the over. I think this one gets over 146.5. Toledo's their last few. Defensively, I think they're slipping a little bit. That's why I think this gets over the total. And Miami's playing real well at home. I got a small bet on them, plus 4.5. I think they keep this one close. Just the way they've been playing, especially at home. They're at home here. That's why I like it. I think they can trade points with them. I think it's kind of high scoring. I love the over 146, and I lean with them a smaller bet, taking the plus 4.5 with Miami, Ohio.
All right, North Carolina, Pittsburgh. We've got the Tar Heels 3.5 point road favorites in this game. The total right now sitting around 145 across the board here. North Carolina, of course, got the victory on Saturday against NC State. And I said over the total in that game, and it was clearly way over the total. So that one cashed with plenty of room to spare. That's now 4 straight overs as well for this North Carolina team. Again, they've found things offensively the last few games. The spacing on the floor has been better. The ball movement, the inside, outside, scoring distribution has been a lot more even. They're getting inside scoring. Their perimeter game is starting to impress. You like that they've got these 4 freshmen, Day'Ron Sharp, Caleb Love, Anthony Harris, RJ Davis, man. They're all pumping in the points right now for this North Carolina squad because a lot of the earlier part of the season, you had to rely a lot on Garrison Brooks. You had to rely a lot on Leaky Black. Well, now they've got these 4 freshmen stepping up, providing that offensive punch during this little 4-game surge they've had. The problem with betting the over here, even though I lean in that direction, is Pitt can be nails on a chalkboard offensively. Other than Champagny, who is a really good player on this Pitt team, don't get me wrong, but it's sometimes one-dimensional. He doesn't have a good shooting night. You don't always get the supporting cast bringing it as well. For me, certainly with North Carolina's recent surge offensively, with them trending over in 4 straight, I lean to the over. I also lean to North Carolina here. I know they've not always been trustworthy on the road, and Pitt at times has risen up and played well at home. Look at some of the home wins they've had. They beat Syracuse. They beat Duke. So, it's not a cinch that North Carolina is going to cover here, 3.5 point road favorites, but they're playing well, and I have no interest going against the Tar Heels right now. C-Mac, what's your take here? North Carolina, Pitt.
Yeah, North Carolina is playing well, but I'm going to stick with Pitt here, plus the points. I think it's just a few too many. They've been playing well at home. They're good. They're 4-1 their last 5 against the spread at home, and Carolina's struggled a little bit, especially against the spread as a favorite on the road.
Yes, very true.
Yeah. That's been the kind of their bugaboo. They just haven't been able to cover as road favorites. So I got Pitt plus 3.5, and I think you're right. I don't love this over, but Pitt's been scoring a lot more lately. We talked about that last game, how Wake beat them, but we talked about how Wake was going to get better. You and me had been on them. That was. I don't think it was too bad of a loss. It wasn't great, but they were only 2-point favorites. They lost by 1. But beating Duke, beat Syracuse by 20. I'm with Pitt here, but I don't know if it gets over the total. But it's a little bit of a lean the way they've been scoring. Like you said, Penny's the guy. He's got to be scoring here tonight. But I got Pittsburgh with the points and a slight lean towards the over.
Yeah, that's the thing that bothers me a little bit about North Carolina. They're playing well, but sometimes these road favorite roles, like Miami, they didn't cover. They lost outright as road favorites to NC State. There's been some tough road performances from them in conference play, so that does concern me enough here with North Carolina to make it just a lukewarm opinion. Next up, Big 12 action, Oklahoma, Texas, Red River rivalry basketball version. We've got Texas 4.5-point home favorites here, 143.5 the total in this one. Oklahoma, how do they respond? Obviously, big win for them, and certainly for their tournament hopes, beating Kansas Saturday afternoon. We kind of leaned with the Sooners in that game, both of us, and they got the win on Saturday against Kansas. Two really good, two ranked teams as well, with Oklahoma now 24th in the country. We know Texas has been a top 5, top 10 team all year. The Longhorns, though, you worry about them a little bit. They haven't played since 10 days ago. They're a little bit shorthanded. They've had down to 8 scholarship players because of COVID-19 as well. You worry about that a little bit, and they did beat Kansas State before the hiatus, 82-67, and they had a bunch of guys out too because they were quarantining, and they still got the job done with a big win against Kansas State in that one. But they've been off for a bit. They've had guys not on the floor a whole lot. When they're fully healthy, this number looks very, very cheap. But there's a reason Texas is only 4.5 here in this game at home, because there's question marks. They've been off for a while. Who's exactly going to be in for Shaka Smart's team in this game? It's one of those games you're going to want to maybe wait until closer to tip-off, because right now you've got Greg Brown as questionable. You've got Kai Jones as questionable. Brock Cunningham right now is questionable. And these are the guys that are going to be touch and go, and we're probably only going to find out like maybe an hour before tip-off, if these guys are going to play. So there's a lot of wait and see going on with this team in terms of who's available for Texas. That's why I wouldn't bet this game until right before tip-off, till you get news about who's exactly in here for Texas in this one. Until I get confirmation of who's in for Texas, it's hard to back them until you know that. They have been struggling a little bit against the number. Look at their last couple of home games. Oklahoma State, 6.5-point home favorites, win by 3. Iowa State, 12.5-point home favorites. They win by 6, don't cover. The last time they were at home, or Texas Tech, they were slight home favorites. They lose. They didn't even cover against Kansas State, 16.5-point favorites. So they've been on a home point spread losing streak now, this Texas team, for as good as they are. So right now the lean is Oklahoma, but at the same time, you've seen Oklahoma have some rough performances at times on the road. Kansas, Baylor didn't play well in either game. So it's a lot back and forth going on in my head with this game. So I'm not involved. I don't think I will be before the game tips off. It's right now a lean Oklahoma, but even then I wouldn't bet it till I know who's in for Texas. Connor, what do you think here?
Yeah, you went through it all there. The big ones with, Brown and Cunningham, especially Brown. If I already lean Oklahoma. If they're out, I'll be taking Oklahoma plus 4.5. And Texas was an under team early in the year. They've gone like 7 straight overs. But the big key is Oklahoma on the road. If they're cold, they can lose. No Shaka Smart. He's not coaching like we talked about. Don't know if that's the biggest deal here. But at 4.5, if you get 5, but I'm going to wait, like you said, till game time to hear those guys are. If they're out, I'm on Oklahoma. And the shooters they have in Manic and them, they can be in any game the way they shoot the ball. It's got to be a lean to Oklahoma here, and I'll be waiting to hear those before tip-off, but just a lean with Oklahoma getting the points.
Yeah, Brady Manic, Austin Reeves, Omoya Gibson, but the guy we got to talk about has been playing like crazy good for Oklahoma lately. Is Davion Harmon. This guy's been awesome for this Sooners team, just shooting the basketball. He poured in 22 points against Kansas as of late. In fact, this guy's just launching from 3, and his field goal percentage, especially from the perimeter, has gone way up lately. He's shooting the ball extremely well. He's got the confidence. Amazing how you shoot better when you have confidence, and you're seeing the ball go in. You feel better. Your stroke is better. Your approach is better because you're seeing success. And that's what we're seeing with Davion Harmon. He's been a bolt of lightning from long distance for this Oklahoma team. So that's a good one tonight. Looking forward to it. Eastern Michigan versus Akron. We've got Akron 10.5, 11-point home favorites, 142 the total. Not a whole lot in this game. Eastern Michigan's bad. I don't trust them. They didn't cover against Buffalo, and Akron's playing like the second or third best team in the MAC right now. They're playing really good ball. I think Akron wins. I think they could cover because Eastern Michigan's fallen just short. But this is going to be like that Buffalo game. It's going to come right around the number. I'm going to leave it alone. But I would lean slightly to the Zips. Conor, how about you in this game?
Yeah, I've been on Akron the last few. 3 or 4 they've covered. But we talked about these numbers getting over double digits in MAC games. They can be, just like in football, make me pull out my hair. The basketball MAC games can do the same. Big point swings and no defense. It's Akron or nothing, but I think it's too many points here. So I'm passed on it. And it should get over the 144, but I'm passing on that as well.
All right, Kentucky, Alabama. Alabama 6.5, 7-point home favorites here, 148 the total. And look, Kentucky got their ass handed to them by Alabama earlier this season at Rupp Arena. And certainly from a spot perspective, you would think Kentucky has this game quadruple circled. Doesn't mean it's going to make a damn bit of difference, because to me, there's still a little bit of a gap between where these two teams are right now in terms of where they're playing. Now, remember, I really liked Alabama the first meeting against Kentucky, and they got the job done. Not feeling that way this time, but I'm just not ready yet to knee-jerk to let's bet Kentucky because they lost the first meeting against Alabama. I'm not going to do that just yet, especially with the number coming down. Everybody's flocked to the revenge angle. And you don't think the odds makers know? Of course they do, that, Kentucky's trying to avenge that defeat. They're going to have to, again, pound the paint. I don't think they did that enough in the first meeting. That's the one little area of Alabama that can be exploited. If they have a weakness, that's it. Their defense is good. They force turnovers. They're active. They're extremely good shooting the ball from long distance and scoring inside as well, Alabama. But the one issue is sometimes you can score around the rim against them. That's, I think, got to be the game plan here if you're Kentucky in this one. Again, this line opened 8.5. It's down to 6.5. I even saw 5.5 earlier this afternoon in a couple books. So there's been a lot of Kentucky support. Yes, Kentucky, better game against LSU, no question. It was a sign of life, a much needed sign of life for this Kentucky Wildcats team. But now they got to go do it on the road, and we know the road's been a problem for them. They haven't beaten anybody good on the road, and now they're in a price range where they don't quite have to win the game to cover the number, but it's getting there. They've still got to be within striking distance in the final minute or two of the game if they're going to cover this point spread. And I'm not sure I fully can get on board with Kentucky doing that just yet. Certainly I'd expect a motivated team. Certainly I'd expect a better effort from them than what they showed the first time against Alabama. But unfortunately, what I said Saturday and many games now for Alabama still applies. I'm not betting against Alabama until further notice. Conor, what do you think here, Kentucky and Alabama?
Yeah, it's just tough to go against Alabama. I'm with you. They've just been rolling. Even that push Saturday, it was all right, and the game went over. I had the over. I don't love the over as much. I think it can get up and over here. Of course, the revenge factor, but everyone's pounded this number down to 6.5. I still think Bama's it here. I don't know when Kentucky could start turning around. They beat a bad LSU team that plays no defense. I mean, okay, that's an all right win, but Alabama can just shoot it, and Kentucky's defense isn't that great. Alabama could just penetrate and kick out to all those shooters, and they're live. I got a small lean. I haven't bet it yet, but it'd be Bama or nothing. And I'm a Kentucky guy. If it was right at now, if this was 9 or 10, I'd take Kentucky. But if they're not at home, it's on the road. Just a kind of a tricky spot. It'd be Bama or nothing now that it's down to 6.5. So roll tide.
Yep. Calipari using the underdog card. A good quote from Coach Cal. These are the games you want to play where you're not supposed to win the game. Now you go and it gets you going. You play instead of playing not to lose. You play to win. So he's playing the old underdog card. Well, he is.
This is a big game.
At least he gives. At least he's not one of those moron coaches that says, "Oh, my team's the underdog" when they're actually the favorite. I've seen some coaches say that. It's like, have you looked at the point spread, man? You're actually favored in this game. What are you talking about? Yeah. just so eager to play the underdog card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tells you, it exposes them for not being much apt into the betting world of things. But yeah, John Petty Jr. has been amazing. Herbert Jones. And this team is just playing their best basketball. They need Olivier Sarr to be good. Brandon Boston Jr. They've got to show up here tonight for Kentucky, play good, get some touches in the low post. That's going to be their pathway to success. I do also will probably have a small bet over the total in this game. I've been riding Bama overs. I took it against Mississippi State on the weekend. It got there. Anytime I see an Alabama total, anything below 150, I'm interested in the over, and I'll probably bet that a little bit here, especially after seeing Kentucky get some offense going, albeit against LSU, but at least they'll feel a little bit more confident offensively after that win against LSU on Saturday. Drake and Missouri State, we've got a good one here, by the way, in the Missouri Valley. 3.5-point road favorites, Drake, 145.5, 146 the total. This Drake team has been, I haven't seen anything like this, to be honest with you, to be this deep into the season and still be perfect against the spread. And that's Drake here. 13-0 straight up. They've had 11 line games, 11-0 against the spread. However, I've got some real reservations backing them here, believe it or not. And I've been on Drake a few times. They have been off since early in the month. They've had a COVID shutdown, haven't played since Southern Illinois back on January the 4th. And if you look at this Missouri State team, yeah, they haven't been quite like Drake from a point spread perspective, but damn close. The last several games, Missouri State playing great basketball, both ends of the floor. Their defense has been tremendous during this run. Missouri State enters this game, covering numbers. They're 6-0 straight up at home, 4-0 against the spread in lined home games, 7-1 against the spread overall in their last 8 games. And they're probably the team that should be in better cohesion, better rhythm going into this game, because Drake's been off for, nearly 3 weeks since their last game. So I do worry about this spot here for Drake. If there's any spot for them maybe to suffer their first straight up loss or spread loss, this could be it. So as much as I've been, waving the Drake pom-poms, been on the Drake money train, the train's stopping at the station today. At least for me, it is. I'm passing on this game, but it's a good one to watch for sure. 2 good teams in this conference. Connor, what do you think? Drake, Missouri State.
Yeah, it's got to stop somewhere. I think it's tonight. We'll see. I've been on Drake a lot, but I've been mostly on him. I'd say 5 games or so. I took him, and once or twice I've gone against him, and they got me. They've been off for so long. I think they're one of the longest in the NCAA. The length they've been off, almost a month before Christmas. Missouri is good. They got a good team. I think they can hang here. Maybe a first half bet. You think Drake comes out a little, but these teams that have come off these layoffs have played pretty well. I know against the number it's been really well. I still got to go with Missouri State here. It's not a huge play. They got 4.5. I see it's dropped to 3.5. I don't love it as much, but Missouri State here. I think it ends with Drake. I think they're still a really good team. And they might only have a loss or 2 on their resume, but maybe tonight's that one. Missouri State's got a solid squad.
All right, we've got SIU Edwardsville taking on Eastern Illinois next game. Eastern Illinois 6.5-point favorites at home, 143 the total in this one. SIU Edwardsville, look, sometimes you're playing some, decent basketball, at least a little bit better basketball, and then sometimes you just run into a team and you just get whipped, and that's what happened against Belmont, 114-62. Talk about an ugly loss for SIU Edwardsville in their last game. But let's also not forget the fact that prior to that, they won outright as road dogs at Tennessee State, won outright as road dogs at Morehead State in their last 2 games. And what the hell can we do? How the hell can we trust Eastern Illinois right now, laying 6.5 at home? They just lost 2 in a row to Tennessee State and Belmont on the road. They haven't covered in fact, they haven't covered in 5 straight home games, this Eastern Illinois team. They didn't cover against Western Illinois, won by 4, won by 6 against Tennessee Tech. They lost against Austin Peay. They lost outright as 6.5-point favorites at home against Morehead State. And they lost in overtime at a near pick'em against Eastern Kentucky. So this team's been a disaster area, Eastern Illinois at home. when you look at it. When you look at recent series history, here in Eastern Illinois on their home floor, Eastern Illinois lost last year, 76-74. The year before, they won by 3 in overtime. Yeah, I think SIU Edwardsville plus points, especially after just a horrendous game against Belmont. I think it's a bounce back spot against a team that they haven't won games. They haven't covered games at home, this Eastern Illinois group. So we'll go with Edwardsville here. I think 6.5 in this one. Connor, what do you think?
I'm with you. I don't know how Eastern Illinois at 6.5. Give me the 6.5 with Edwardsville. I don't think they're that great, but look at all those losses at home, and they're favored by this. They lost 5 or 6 in a row, straight up and against the spread. So you could look at the other way. They're due. People say, oh, Eastern Illinois is due, I guess. But I think it's too many. They might win this game, but I got to take the 6.5 with Edwardsville as well. I think it's a solid look. I think they can get the cover here.
All right, we're liking Edwardsville here after obviously, if they play that bad like they did against Belmont again, they could lose this game by margin. Yeah. But
Belmont,
Eastern Illinois is not Belmont. That's for sure. Yeah. Not even close. And I think after when you get lose 114-62, there's got to be some pride in the work you're putting in as college basketball players to be better in the next game. And I think you'll see that hopefully tonight from Edwardsville. Butler and UConn. UConn 5.5-point home favorites. 122.5 the total in this game. UConn's not a team I'm in a rush to lay points with. They're really battling some key injuries. They've been banged up a lot this season from an injury standpoint, and it's definitely impacted this team a little bit. There's no question. I mean, you look at Cook continues to be banged up. James Boatnight is out with that elbow injury. Jackson as well, a wrist injury. So this is a team without some really key players. Boatnight's the big one. I mean, obviously, he is huge for this team and his importance. And we've seen them stumble the last 2. Losing to St. John's as home favorites, that's not a bad loss. But again, product of the injuries they're dealing with. And then they lost by 8 at Creighton in their last game on the road, albeit it's covered the number. The question is, can we trust Butler? Because Butler's had some good performances since they've started to get healthier. Since, Aaron Thompson, we talked about him a lot. He's finally back. They covered against Seton Hall. They beat DePaul in their last game. DePaul's terrible. And they also lost to St. John's by 8. And that's the game where I look at it and say, can I really trust Butler here for as banged up as UConn is? So it's really tough. I mean, any other team in this spot, maybe I take the points with them, but I'm not sure I'm ready to trust Butler because I took Butler against St. John's not recently and thinking, hey, Butler, there's a team they can beat finally here on the road. And they lost to St. John's. If they lose to St. John's on the road, they can lose even to a shorthanded UConn team on the road here. So for me, it's a pass. I'm staying away. Don't really trust either side given the current circumstance. Connor, what do you think your Big East play with Butler and UConn?
Yeah, this is a tricky spot. I've been on UConn a lot of the year, and they've impressed me defensively, and that's why this total's really low. I don't have a real feel for them. I don't want to lay this number with UConn with the players they're missing, and some of the guys that are listed maybe questionable on the Butler side. A small lean to Butler getting the points here, but I don't love it. With all the injuries going on, I had to pass on this one.
All right, Dayton and St. Louis. The Billikens are back from there. There's another team returning from a long COVID hiatus. St. Louis, 9.5-point home favorites, 134.5 the total. I love this team, St. Louis. I backed them a bunch this year, and they've come through for me. I'm not going to back them in this spot, but I respect them too much to bet against them. So I know there's people liking Dayton with all these points, given St. Louis been off for a while. I won't be one of them. And to be honest with you, if St. Louis brings their B-plus game or even B-minus game, they might even cover still if they do that. Because I don't think this Dayton's team is as good as they were last year. They've had some really, really poor results. They've had some good wins, and then they've had some really head-scratching performances as well. And they're going to have to play extremely well, even with St. Louis coming off the hiatus, if they're going to win and cover in this game. So, yeah, I understand the case for Dayton. I'm just not on board with making that case. It's a pass for me in this one. Connor, what about you? Dayton, St. Louis?
Yeah, it's a pass for me. I messed up Drake. St. Louis had the longer layoff. They've been off since Christmas. I mistake there after looking this up, after both been off. But I took Dayton the other day, and VCU just took them apart. They just have the hardest time scoring. Well, I think they could score here.
That was pathetic offensively out of them in
That
that
was
game.
bad.
Awful.
That was horrible. I have no trust in them. I'm with you. I'm big on the Billikens. I like St. Louis, but the big layoff, big favorite here. I think they get the cover. I just don't love it. Dayton could be scrappy. This is a game they could hang in and cover. I could see it just in my mind, and not taking it here. But after that game I just saw with VCU, I don't want any part of Dayton. But I could see a backdoor cover late. That's why this was a quick cross off for me. I didn't see much value in this one.
This is a good game because I've made money with both of these teams lately, Missouri and Auburn coming up next. And that's what got me completely torn when it comes to the side in this game. Like, Missouri's been a good money machine for me lately. Auburn certainly has. How many times have I talked about Auburn? Auburn this and Auburn side and Auburn over the total ever since they got Sharif Cooper on the floor. But look at the difference it's made. Auburn 2.5-point home favorites, 149.5, 150, the current total here in this one. Yeah, I basically said it a second ago. I can't pick against either of these teams right now. They've both been good to me. Missouri on Saturday with the win against Tennessee outright as underdogs. Auburn, I'd like them against South Carolina. And man, did they take apart South Carolina. That wasn't even a contest. Auburn all over South Carolina in that game. A very impressive win for them in that game. Prior to that, beat Kentucky, beat Georgia, hung tough against Alabama by 4 in the first game Cooper played. Beat Kentucky, beat Georgia, lost by 2 at Arkansas on the road. So this has been a team that's played their best basketball since they got Cooper back. But Missouri, man, other than a 20-point home loss to Tennessee, and that 15-point loss at Mississippi State looks more and more like an anomaly, Conor, based on what they've done outside of that. They win at Arkansas by 13. They blow out A&M on the road. They beat up South Carolina by 11. And, of course, the revenge win on the road against Tennessee, 73-64 on the weekend. It's a great basketball game. Two teams surging, both straight up and against the number as of late. So I'm not going to be involved in this game from a totals perspective. I was initially not going to bet the total, but then I started looking at some things. Well, we know Auburn has trended over the last few games since they got Cooper, 3 overs in their last 5. And even Missouri, they've gone over the total 2 straight games. South Carolina and the Tennessee game both went over the total. But then I looked at the series history, Missouri and Auburn. Look at these scores, 158, 152. We had let me see it, 150. Then we had a 164 game. Those are the last 4 meetings since 2018. So all 150s and all 160s, essentially, in terms of total points. So with that in mind, I played it over. This 149.5 is the number I got. I think it can get there. And Auburn has picked up the pace a little because now they've got their big offensive weapon, Cooper, at their disposal. And Missouri, we've seen them at times, be able to say, if you want to run, we will. Against teams that will play that way. Missouri's one of those teams, they'll slow it down against teams that play slow, and sometimes they will quicken it up against the teams that play at a faster pace. So, and that series history, like I said, is all overs. I think the over is like 7 straight, 6 straight over, 6-0 to the over the last 6 with Missouri against Auburn, and all of those games getting into the 150s or 160s. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll go over 149.5. C-Mac, what do you think, Missouri, Auburn?
I'm with you on the over. I see 150.5 now. I got it in at 149.5. I think it's still fine. Another point. Like you said, Missouri, I think they play up tempo. They're the better defensive team. So when it comes down to it, they can play it slow games and lock it down or play up. I think this is a little more high scoring. I think they both are in the 70s, maybe low 80s. And Auburn probably will dictate that at home with Cooper. I can't wait till Auburn gets back Powell and see how they really look. Cooper and him, I think this could be a team. They're already surging up. What they look like, maybe in a month or 2 if he comes back. We'll see. This is so tight. We both made a bunch of money off both these teams. Yep. I think it's a pick 'em. If I had to go with it, I'd take the points with Missouri. It's not many, but it's a bucket, 2.5. If it was 3.5, 4, I like it a lot more. So I got to lean Missouri in the points slightly. It's just a lean, but I'm with you. I think this one could get up and over the 150.
Like I said on Twitter earlier today, it was the little inside joke I had. I have a lock for you today in college basketball. Bet the Tigers. It's a lock. It can't lose. And it can't lose in this game. Got Missouri Tigers and Auburn Tigers. But then I realized a couple minutes after I posted it, some people mentioned this to me. I forgot that LSU and Memphis are playing today. They're Tigers too. And I'm like, that ruined the joke.
Like, oh shit, where's the lock? Yeah, give me that one, Ian. Come on.
Yeah, that's right. Memphis and LSU are on the board today too. No, I was referring to Missouri and Auburn, and they're saying, okay, which one is the lock then? Yeah, that's pretty funny. But we're kind of leaning over the total here in this one. And I hate these situations though, where you got one team that you've been riding for a bunch and making money with them, and another team you've been riding a lot and making money with them, and then suddenly they're playing each other. And then you got to make a tough decision. It's like, which one of your kids do you love more? How can you say that to your kids, right?
Yeah.
You can't. Not that I know, because I don't have any, but that's another story. Next up, we've got LSU and Texas A&M. LSU, 5-point road favorites here, 140 and a half the total in this one. I'm doing it here. They have definitely been frustrating. They've been underachieving. They don't play great defense. But if you can't neutralize this A&M team, which can't put the ball in the ocean half the time, then they might as well just say, Will Wade, you know what? It's not our year. We're obviously not much of a team. If they can't come out here after a couple of really poor performances and take care of A&M, who just to me are not very good, all right, when you're losing some of the games that A&M's lost to South Carolina and just getting beaten up by Ole Miss on the weekend, you're not a good basketball team. And that's unfortunate because I like Buzz Williams. He's a good coach, but he's got a tough sledding right now with that A&M team. They are hideous on offense. They are pathetic offensively. They have scored 54, 54, 56, 52, and 50, all right, in their last 5 games. They're not even hitting the mid-50s in terms of points scored. And they've gone obviously under the total. They've gone under the total in 10 straight games, A&M. So to me, and LSU's gone over the total in 4 straight. So where do you go from a totals perspective? I know where I go. I pass. I'm not betting a total here because A&M's a dead nuts under team. or LSU is a dead nuts over team right now. But to me, you've got LSU off back-to-back blowout losses to Kentucky and Alabama. The Alabama loss, Alabama's a freight train. No shame in that. But, losing by 13 at Kentucky, that's a pretty stinging loss. But you also look, they've been able to take care of business against the weaker teams in the SEC. They already beat A&M once by 23. They beat Georgia. They beat Arkansas. They beat South Carolina, this LSU team. So LSU is what they are. They are not good enough to beat Tennessee or Kentucky or Alabama or the top teams, but can they handle their business against mediocre to the bottom tier competition in this conference? They can. I think they get it done tonight here. I'll lay the 5 with LSU here. And if they don't win this game, then you've really got to sound the alarm bells and wave the red flags when it comes to Will Wade's team. C-Mac, what do you think here? LSU, Texas A&M.
Yeah, LSU in the past has kind of owned A&M. I think they win here. They just can't score, A&M. It's just, man, it's hard to watch their basketball team. They just can't put it in ball in the bucket. So I got to go LSU. I like them to cover the number here. I think they do the tempo. And like you said, they're just an over team, and A&M's dead under team. I can't play the side. I think they can get over this one. Just LSU, their defense is so bad. Ole, I mean, I think, A&M could get to 65, but who knows? They're so bad scoring. But I think they just have way too many scorers. LSU's got way too many scorers that I think they can cover this number, because I don't like laying these short numbers, road favorites. Hasn't been too great for me. But in this one, I'm going to roll with the Tigers, laying the 4.5, 5.
All right, we're liking LSU here. And again, this is, to me, very buy low type of opportunity with LSU. Because you look at the rosters and the talent on paper, LSU is better roster and talent-wise than A&M. There's no question about it. Hopefully they play like it tonight. And if they do, I think they got a chance to cover that number. Georgia Tech, Duke 6-point home favorites, 140.5 the total. Duke is at least at home in this game with Coach K getting all upset and pissy the other day with that quote saying, what's your next steps from here? Well, what do you think about your next steps after you write your big major exam? What the hell's that got to do with it? The question wasn't a bad question. You're struggling as a team. You're just wondering what are you going to do next to try to get things turned around? Yeah. I think that's what the premise of the question was. And there's Coach K jumping down the person that asked the question. Well, what's your major here? Do you want to be asked about what's the next step after you've just busted your tail writing a tough exam? I don't know. It's just a puzzling response. You can tell he's agitated. You can tell he's frustrated with what's happened with this Duke. He's not used to this. He's not used to coaching a Duke team that may miss the NCAA tournament. And that's where we're at right now with Duke basketball. This team is not a tournament team, at least in my opinion, they're not right now. And if they're somehow in somebody's tournament field right now on that committee, shame on them, because that's clearly you're putting them in based on reputation, not reality. This team's not a tournament team right now. I've seen them enough. You can't urinate on yourself on the road over and over again like Duke has, and consider against good teams and consider yourself a team that's warranting being an NCAA tournament team, period. End of story. Simple as that. I mean, you got to at least show up once in a while on the road, and we haven't seen Duke do that really at any point. That being said, they are back home, and they are 4-2 straight up at home. But you know what their spread record is in those 6 home games? 0-6 against the spread for the Duke Blue Devils on their home floor this year. And you look at their recent home performances. Wake didn't cover. Boston College, double-digit favorites. They won by a single point. Lost to Illinois at home. Didn't cover against Bellarmine at home. Lost to Michigan State as favorites at home. So you're talking about 0-6 against the number at home. I know Georgia Tech, you're talking about a situation where Georgia Tech didn't play great against Duke. Duke actually, one of their road wins was against Georgia Tech. Actually, it was last year. They played Georgia Tech. Duke beat them on the road, 73-64. Haven't played each other this year, but you look at these two teams. How do you not look at it and say Georgia Tech's the team in the better form, and they're getting 6 here? What am I missing? That's the thing that's confounding me about this game. Like, to me, this should be around 3 or 4. That's where my numbers had it, not 6. Georgia Tech's playing good basketball. Look what they've done. Now, a lot of it's been at home. I get it, but they beat North Carolina, they beat Clemson, and even on the road. The last game at Virginia, they didn't win, but they lost by 2. A damn good Virginia team, and you took them right down to the wire. This point spread is puzzling to me, but sometimes you can't overthink it. You can't just run around in circles and say, why is Duke laying 6? Why is Duke laying 6? Why is Duke laying 6? And allow that to talk yourself out of it. I'm not going to fall into that right here. If it loses, so be it. But I'm on Tech here. The Yellow Jackets +6 in this one. I'm going to dare Duke to win by margin. Again, a team that hasn't covered a point spread at Cameron Indoor yet this season. They're soiling my last name. They're besmirching the Cameron name. They really are.
Name is getting shit on.
Besmirching it. They haven't covered a number at Cameron Indoor. Figure it out. Anyway, Conor, what do you think here? Georgia Tech and Duke.
I'm with you. I'm on just the eye test, and Duke's just not very good right now. They don't have shooters other than Hurt, and just dare him. He's the only guy that can make threes from this team. I could see why people are on Duke. There's no home crowd there. This is the year. All these teams, I think you can go in. Not only I think Tech could go in and win, I think it's too many points as well. And like you said, if you lose, they lose. But right now, Georgia Tech, how Virginia just whipped Syracuse. Everyone thought Syracuse was going in hot. So did I. And they just took them out. They lost by 2 at Virginia to score 62 on them. I think they keep this one close, maybe outright win it. Duke, it's just not their year going on, right now. And Coach K's all pissed off. No fans in there, no Cameron crazies. No Cameron crazies in there. It's just too many points. This is just too many. I mean, Duke could have a big game and win at home, but the value here, you just got to take the points with Tech. They got a senior, older team with juniors, seniors. I think they're used to this, and they'll relish going in there. I lean towards the over a bit too. I think Tech, for the most part, I think they can get in the 70s, high 70s, and I think Duke will be right there. It's not a huge play, but I think you can just get over this 140 mark. But my main play is on Tech. Give me the 6 points.
Yeah, you're right. Matthew Hurt, not a whole lot for this Duke team offensively. There's no question about it. You look at Georgia Tech, you're right. Upperclassmen, junior, senior laden, led by Jose Alvarado, who's been there forever. I mean, this is a solid Georgia Tech team. They played good defense. And you're right. This has the feeling of, A plus B equals C. Duke is struggling to win. They're struggling to cover, especially at home. That's A. Plus B is the Georgia Tech side, where they've been good on the road, ATS. They lose by 2 at Virginia, and we just saw Virginia after that just demolish Syracuse. It's supposed to be A plus B equals C, which means take the points here with Georgia Tech. So that's where we're going. So we'll see how it goes, and we're just going to dare Duke because the eye test tells me this is not a good basketball team right now. And Georgia Tech, we'll see if they can not only compete to win the game, but maybe even pull off the outright win here. Southeast Missouri State, Tennessee Martin. The last game on the main board, SEMO, 5-point road favorites, 141.5, the total in this one. Tennessee Martin, I don't want to back them. It would be SEMO or pass. Didn't play it, but definitely would lean a little bit to SEMO here against really a bottom feeder in this Ohio Valley Conference Tennessee Martin team. Conor, what do you think here in this game?
Yeah, I can't take UT Martin even catching 5 points. And I'm not going to allow myself to lay 5 with SEMO. So it's a pass. It's one of those ones like, you want to lay 5 with SEMO or you want +5 with Martin? And Martin's that bad. Not right now. So it was a quick pass.
Yeah, SEMO if I had to. The added board game, I passed on it. There's only one. It's Fairleigh Dickinson. And again, my numbers only had that total 147. So I wanted the over with Fairleigh Dickinson against St. Francis, Pennsylvania, but didn't quite get there with it. I lean a little to Dickinson, actually, FDU, +4.5, but just leans. I didn't actually bet the one added board game. Conor, anything there? No?
I haven't bet that game, but I was leaning Fairleigh Dickinson. I don't know if I get bet it, but my lean's with them in the points for sure.
Yeah, they've been kind of up and down, a little bit disappointing this year at times, Fairleigh Dickinson. So that's what's kept me off that one for sure. All right, we're going to get to best bets to wrap up the show as always in just a second, Conor. But first, any words from our sponsors today?
Yeah. Let me get our sponsors. Go to mybookie.ag. Everyone needs another book. You need multiple books to get the best lines. Enter promo code PubSports. You get 50% off your debit or credit, and you get 100% off. Use the Bitcoin. You put 1,000, they give you 1,000. You got to do minimum 100. So you put in 100, you get 100. Mybookie.ag, promo code PubSports. If you want to bulk up, go to bulksupplements.com. Hit promo code PubSports. You get 5 to 10% off your order. Get all the protein, creatine, all that stuff. And go to builtbars.com. Hit promo code PubSports. You get 20% off your order. They got good snack bars. They got coconut, double chocolate, and mint brownie. They're super good. So get 20% off your order, builtbars.com, promo code PubSports.
There we go. All right. So best bets. We'll try to keep these going. They've been pretty good lately. Certainly, we have for me, Missouri on Saturday. Couldn't have a better selection than that. Not only +9 wire to wire, but outright winner at Tennessee. Conor, I'll start with you. The floor is yours. Best bet.
You go ahead.
Me go ahead. Okay, here we go. That's because I'm still thinking about which one I'm going to use. Let me just see here. I'm thinking. All right. Let's see here. I was going to go LSU, but I don't know if I trust them that much. You know what? Let's go with they shot the ball better the last game. They really did. Kentucky against LSU. I think they can get better. They can, and I think that's where they know they got to fix it because they've shot the ball horrendously against Alabama in the first meeting. I'm hoping Kentucky's better offensively tonight. I think they will be. Like Alabama did give up 73 to Mississippi State over the weekend, and that was a worse defensive performance than they've had recently. I think Kentucky will shoot the ball better. I think they'll make their adjustments. And Alabama on their home floor, they're going to score theirs. They always do. I think we can get over that total. So I'm going to go with that one. Kentucky, Alabama, over 147.5. Kentucky, Alabama, over 147.5. My best bet. Conor, what do you like?
You know, and as much as I'll give it to you kind of too, Georgia Tech we talked about, I just think it's too many points. I'm going with Pitt at home. I got Ford still at 3.5. I think they might outright win. I'm taking Pittsburgh plus the points tonight at home.
Yeah, a couple of all right, there you go. Pitt plus 3.5 against North Carolina. That is Conor Mack's best bet. Just a couple last questions. We did talk Toledo, Miami. We both lean Miami, and we both like the over. So we lean Miami, but we like the over in that Toledo, Miami game. I passed on Drake's Missouri State. Conor Mack kind of likes Missouri State a little bit.
I have,
especially in the first half, maybe in that one. Against Drake. So there you go. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. We've got 2 basketball shows back to back as we do each Wednesday. We'll have college basketball, Conor and I, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, and then the NBA show with Ski Prophet and I, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific tomorrow as well. So back to back basketball closing time shows right here on Pub Sports Radio. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on the College Basketball Closing Time Show on Pub Sports Radio.